Elder Datta was a philanthropist, liked to do meritorious deeds, and liked to give alms. He often helped the poor, often giving them food and clothes. In the entire area of Xav city, regardless of whether they were male or female, old or young, whenever they were poor or helpless, once they called him, he would happily help immediately. That's why everyone named him the wealthy Anathapindika. One day, the wealthy man Dat went to the house of the wealthy man Thursday La in Von Xa Ton to discuss the marriage of his youngest son. He happened to meet the Buddha and hear his teachings. He was so happy that he immediately made up his mind to build a monastery on the spot to invite the Buddha and the monks to come to Xav Ton to teach and transform the living beings there. The Buddha happily accepted the invitation. When the monastery is completed, he will come. The elder Dat returned to Xav Ton and immediately went to look to find a suitable location. He searched everywhere. Among those places was the garden of Prince Kaida, extremely spacious, with rivers and water, hills and mountains, fragrant flowers and strange grasses, picturesque scenery. The scenery is pure and beautiful. If we use this place to build a monastery, to make offerings to the Buddha who comes there to preach the Dharma, and for the bhikkhus to come and reside there, there is no better place. But this is the garden that Prince Kaida loves the most. The wealthy Dat does not know how to get the prince to give up this garden to him. He thought hard, and although he knew it would be very difficult, there was no other way than to go straight to Prince Kaida to ask him to please sell the garden to him. Whatever you say, Crown Prince Kaida does not approve. When he heard the wealthy man Dat's plea for the third time, the prince found it difficult to forever refuse a person with a national reputation like this wealthy man. So he thought of a plan to demand a very large amount of money, so that the wealthy man would not know matter what the season is. Thinking that, the prince said, "I really don't want to give this garden to you, but seeing you keep insisting like that, let's do this. I am willing to sell the land with the following conditions: you take gold and spread it all over the ground of the garden, that amount of gold will be the price you have to pay me. If you have the ability to do this, I will give you the land." Who would have thought that as soon as the prince gave the price, wealthy man Dat was overjoyed and immediately returned to call his family to bring cart after cart of gold to spread it all over the ground. Prince Kaida initially thought he had caught the secret of the wealthy man Dat, making him unable to buy the land. Now that he saw the incident with his own eyes, he couldn't help but feel moved, so he went to ask the wealthy businessman Dat, "Land. I consider it yours, but I have never sold the flowers and plants in the garden to you." What kind of person was the Buddha that he was so devoted to him? "Now, would you be willing to let me offer some tree stumps in the garden to the Buddha?" The wealthy monk Dat heard Prince Dat ask that question, so he clearly explained the Buddha's nobility to the prince. Both were deeply touched, extremely happy and reassured. After the monastery was built, the wealthy monk Dat immediately welcomed the Buddha and the monks back. Because the monastery was made by the wealthy Anathapindika offering the garden and the Prince Kaida offering the trees, the Buddha took the names of these two people and named the monastery, that is, Anathapindika's monastery. The rich man Dat was fond of giving alms and was fond of doing good deeds. In addition, building a monastery caused him to have to invest too much capital, so he was bankrupt and had no money left to support himself, to the point that about to starve. He picked up a piece of wood from a pile of trash. This was sandalwood, which is a priceless wood, but because it was not clean, when he sold it, very few people wanted to buy it. Finally, someone reluctantly exchanged it for 4 tons of white rice. The wealthy lady Dat measured a gallon of rice to cook, and right at that moment, the venerable Sariputta stood right in front of the door, holding an alms bowl. The lady was extremely happy. She brought the cooked rice and offered it all to Sariputra. Then she measured another gallon of rice to cook. As soon as the rice was cooked, Maudgalyana came to beg for alms. She also brought freshly cooked rice and offered it to Maudgalyana. The third time she cooked rice, she offered it to Kasyapa. As for the last piece of rice, just when it was ripe, the Buddha arrived. She thought, I only have 1 month of freshly cooked rice left when the world-honored one comes. Is it because the bad karma has come to an end and the good karma is about to bloom? After thinking that, she had all the rice in the pot and offered it all to the Buddha. The Buddha saw that the wealthy couple too that had such a heart, so he prayed from his mouth that, sin and happiness will be eliminated, from now on, there will be endless blessings and virtues, no more hardships. Within just a moment, the servants ran to tell the good news: the gold, silver, money, jewels in the house, rice, silk and fabrics in the warehouse somehow piled up like a mountain, compared to before. Now our family is much richer. In his heart, the wealthy monk too dat knew clearly that this was given by the Buddha's mercy, so he quickly built a large altar to make offerings to the Buddha and the monks, and invited the world-honored one to preach the Dharma so that everyone could gain more Dharma happiness. When you give away your wealth to others, when you see it, it feels like you've lost it, but like a seed buried in the ground, sooner or later you will reap sweet fruit one day.
Thank you for spending your valuable time on my channel journey to enlightenment. Wishing you a very peaceful and happy day. Don't forget to click like and subscribe to my support channel. See you in the next video.